And there we go.
Hello, everybody.
Happy Friday.
It is Friday. Thank the good Lord it's Friday, as I say around here. I think that the people, the listeners, the viewers, they would be surprised to know that you and I like stop talking seconds before we start. And like Carly, our producer's like, I'm going to step out just in case we go live with you two just shooting the breeze. So anyway.
Yeah. That's why we always are like, okay. It's like the awkward silence type of preparing. Anyway,
I
want to give a shout out though, really quickly.
Yes.
The comment that was made that we are flotation devices.
That was such a good one.
That was a good one.
I'm like, oh right, I shared that, right? Who was that? Susan. Yes, Susan Patoyan. Karen, your and Lenny's exchange episodes are awesome flotation devices in the tsunami of change our industry is facing with AI.
Yes. So Susan, love you. Thank you. My new nickname now is Noodle as a result of that. So folks, like, oh, Lenny is a pool noodle, not a I guess there's worse things we compared to, but that was pretty funny. So thank you.
I don't know who's calling you that, but for the record, it's not
Susan. Susan. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I'm more like a stuffed shell, I think.
This is the difference between is you were going to noodles because I have a grandchild. I was going to like those
floaties.
Little floaties.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go off on that tangent, but we won't.
All right, let's dive in.
Yeah, because there's some, there's always good stuff, right? But there's some really interesting stuff right now, and I think that it's not self-fulfilling prophecies, but we've been talking about the need for partnerships, and we're seeing a lot of that in the last week. Several partnerships were announced, so sometimes things that Lenny and I talk about are actually what come to fruition. So it's really cool for us to see that. But let's start with the money, right? Show me the money.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of partnerships, right? Thrive Capital double down on Databricks.
Yeah,
$100 billion valuation, Series K. Which is interesting. Series K, but what really struck Databricks is a place where data is kind of effectively kind of a data marketplace. They do more than that. It's data cleaning, et cetera, kind of an infrastructure provider. What was particularly jumped out at me on that though was that was going for the development of their own agentic marketplace. And for data feeds. What
Right. Spoiler alert, we'll be talking about AI agents later in this episode.
We will, but but from that idea of, okay, these data marketplaces, any marketplace, right? It's about the how easy can you make the supply chain, right? The entire distribution process. And that's just an example, again, where the technologies really allow for a more seamless and frictionless process with data as an asset, which feeds all of the beasts. And Databricks, Snowflake, there's other companies out there that are in this arena, have been positioning themselves for years in this. I can't blame $100 billion valuation and more money going into it, a Series K, for a company that seems like they may actually become as integral to the infrastructure of the world as anything else. So that was interesting.
And in this release, it gives the stat that Snowflake recorded 26% year-over-year revenue growth in May. So following the money, there's some confidence in the type of work that these companies are doing in our disrupted world.
Well, did you see? I just thought about this a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if we even covered it. But Cint made an announcement about integration of their data into Snowflake.
I think we did.
I don't recall if we did or not. But there was a panel company that's sitting on specific data assets now integrate into that ecosystem. And I think we're going to see a heck of a lot more of that. Well, we'll touch on it with with Nielsen.
Yeah. There's a lot of common threads in some of these stories. So, but let's also talk about this platform Dig, not to be confused with Dig Insights, right? So we have a Dig and a Dig Insights, but there's another platform that raised some money, 14 million Series A funding to expand Insights capabilities, and this is social video intelligence. And you know, I just think that, part of what they're saying is here, it's like unlocking insights at scale. Yeah. Tracking perceptions in real time. And I'm like, you know what, as we get more and more into this socially integrated world that we're in, and that's where a lot of these conversations are happening, I'm like, yeah, I'd keep an eye on this company also, because I think there's something about the ability now for AI to be even stronger in that social mining, but now also social mining of video, which is a whole different animal. So cool.
Well, it's also this says Dig, and then the next one, MX8. Is that pronounced?
Yeah, MX8. I think MX8. I mean, I guess we never heard it out loud, but yeah, let's go there.
Yeah, that launched to speed up survey-based research. So congratulations to both those companies. I don't mean this in any disparaging way, but I look at this and it's like, but there's a whole industry that's been doing this for a long time. So what is different? And
I know, I read that too. I thought the same thing. I was like, well, that's interesting, but what is the difference? The difference is the capabilities and speed. Today's technology is allowing them to launch with speed as part of their offering, as opposed to people who are like, and now we can do our research faster. These people are like coming to the market faster.
Well, definitely, that's a good point, because I would argue the core capability, I've been able to conduct n equals 1,000 studies in an hour for a long time. But I think so that, yes, everything you just said, but there's also this element of but they're not selling into the research space, right? They're taking advantage of I believe the expanding user base, buyer universe of potential buyers that don't have anything to do with the insights organization. And similar to what SurveyMonkey, they didn't sell to market researchers. SurveyMonkey sold to marketers. Qualtrics sold to CX. So these companies that continued proof that opportunity to create what is absolutely a research. We look at it, it's like, looks like research, smells like research, tastes like it must be research. But it's the buying process. It's it's who they're targeting that is different. And
they're talking about this, MX8. They're talking about a solution to kind of to track the daily swings in customer sentiment, as opposed to the survey lagging that can happen.
Right.
Which, yes, that's of great value when it's positioned that way, against kind of surveys that are quickly going to be improving thanks to technology. They're like, guess what? You don't have to wait for other systems that you're using to improve. We got you. And let's talk about this YouGov and Metricomm thing, because there's the three of them. When I really looked at this, what Dig is doing, what MX8 is doing, and what YouGov and Metricomm are doing, they're all kind of related, right, to this this real timeness being realized at this point in time. To keep the insights kind of in the current context and not at all dated. So I think that's what all three of these have in common. So YouGov better than me. Tell me about this tool that they've introduced.
Yeah, I mean, YouGov, one of their core products is basically brand health tracker. This making it more real time with the brand index data of media analytics to measure press impact on brand health. So where brand tracking is generally more of a fairly static thing, it's not particularly, it's not looking at daily type of of issues, where this really is looking, hey, we just put out a press release, what's the brand impact on that, which is generally going to be fairly short. I mean, we do that every week, right? We're talking about press releases, somebody gets a boost for a week or so, but then it goes back to kind of stasis. So yes, moving more towards a real-time, ongoing 360 degree view of different inputs that impact brand. And also, Metricomm is not a company that plays in the research space. So it's partnerships that are happening outside of the usual suspects. Which that takes us to our next one, right? Nielsen and InfoSum. The Nielsen Marketing Cloud, which keep in mind, Nielsen's had a very successful IPO. So they went back and it worked real well. I actually kicked myself that I didn't buy some stock when they went public again, because it's done really, really well. And it's because this idea that they are a data feed company. And now we're seeing they've built this Nielsen Marketing Cloud and combine InfoSum and other solutions so that it becomes a feed into a variety of systems that are all going to be wrapped around AI. That looks more like subscription. It's recurring revenues. I mean, it's a great model. And it's a similar real time, right?
Yeah, real time. And so before we move on to talk about the next point, let's just stay with this a minute, because I think there's something to be noted for everybody listening, like, Lenny and I connecting these dots for you, something to be noted about real-time insights being realized through these providers. And therefore, that is if you are in that world and you have surveys that are taking some time to put out there, you are competing with people who can deliver immediate results to you. Right. If not these companies, others like it. Like that is your competition. Your competition is delivering immediacy, in context feedback.
Right. And always on. I think that's, as we position this overall, the insights world, which that is new, we've been talking about it forever, but now we can live in a world of always on intelligence. And then immediacy of the data is a huge component of that. Are we going to be able to choose that with everything? No, right? We're not. There's some things it's going to take a little bit longer to get to. But a ton is and can be a real-time feed into an always-on system, and that feeds the synthetic, right? You go there first. Okay, we got all this data. Now let's model this, and okay, then it just changes the research process. We are not the keepers of information anymore, so we are spokes on a wheel. And to your point, we are not the only spoke. So
it's a whole lot of spokes.
A whole lot of spokes. Hopefully you put cards. Anyway, sorry, I'm dating myself. Put cards on the spokes to make the noise, right? So, did you ever do that?
That was so funny, because at first I wasn't with you, and I'm like, "What is he talking about?" And then you're like, "To make the noise," and then I'm like, "Oh, that's what he means." Anyway, literally riding bikes with cards.
Yes, didn't you? I had on my Huffy. I remember I had that. Did you on your Schwinn? Did you have a Schwinn or a Huffy? What did you have?
No, but I did have the bell with the little plastic things coming out of the handlebars.
The little tassels off the.
Those were all safe.
Those were great. You had your hair in pigtails, and they're blowing.
Oh my gosh! Oh, my hair was in pigtails. Oh, for sure, my hair was actually my hair was in pigtails till I got to the 80s, and then I had a high side pony, because that was a thing too.
With the big scrunchie. You didn't have the big bangs. What about the big bangs in the 80s? All right, anyway, we digress. I had the mohawk, so
Lenny and I we would not have been in the same circle at that time of our lives.
Oh, everybody's. Never mind. I was going to say something's probably inappropriate.
I know, we date ourselves. We date
ourselves. So
we need to dial it back. And I want to talk about this next story before we move on to some of the big tech stories of the week. But Dscout partnering with Respondent to launch partner panels, expanding access to global participants. I have used Dscout, or had used, back in the day when I was executing. Dscout was a great platform for that. But what I thought was really interesting about this, and it wasn't overtly said in this release, but where my mind went is everybody's got to be coming up with their solution to the data quality situation in the pipeline. Right now, Dscout has proprietary scouts. So, they have a solution, but they're forging this other partnership to kind of, again, expand what they can offer and how their panel can be used and vice versa. So I just think this is probably going to be the first of many of these where people are like, okay, I trust you. Let's align. Let's combine forces in the world of panel. And that's how I interpreted that. I thought it was just worth calling out for that reason. We're going to see more of this. And I think it's a good thing because people are taking the quality of their panels seriously.
I 100% agree. And so no one good high quality panel is big enough to handle all the needs, right? So when you look at these type of partnerships, it's it allows you start getting scale through kind of a marketplace functionality, which we would argue that the marketplaces have done for years, but it was more programmatic. These are panels, so there's an engaged Dscout that you download an app, the Dscout app. I think Respondent does as well. So it is just it is a different engagement level with the respondents, a different level of quality in terms of knowing know your customer. There's just different elements of that than the programmatic world, which is optimized for speed and efficiency and cost. Now we're being optimizing for quality and scale through these type of relationships. So hats off to both of them.
Yes, for sure. All right, ready? We're about halfway through with our time here. We have to start talking about.
We are. Well, we're doing good. We only got 4 things listed.
But there's some big picture tech stories. And I think that anyway, a lot of this is for future reading, a lot of papers. But again, we'll just get into them. The first one is talking about, which I thought was interesting and worth reading. It's a study, right? I think you had found this one, study about how the future might not just be these large models, but it might be smaller ones, faster trained, custom for specific uses. And that might become more practical as we move into more agentic AI. So really interesting article here, study here. What was your big takeaway? Because I'll tell you mine, other than just what I just said.
I mean, I think that was kind of it. That as we're moving to agents that are specialized in the research world, right? For a brand, let's call it the P&G agentic, just because I always pick on P&G.
Yeah, you do.
The P&G agent that's trained on P&G data that they have built, their own proprietary data sets. It may be big because P&G is big, but it's not as big as everything else. So that level of specialization that's focused on their business applications makes an awful lot of sense, and I think we'll see more of that. Now that we've unlocked the agent capability, we can train it on more specialized stuff, and I think we've all seen some elements of that already. You and I have trained some elements of agents or AI on our individual profiles.
But those are not, and this is what one of the things I want to say is that those are still large models underneath it, right?
Yes.
So what we've done, when you build for people listening, because I did a deep dive here because I was very curious about the tech. When we use like a custom ChatGPT or custom GPT, we create our own. Lenny and I are both playing around a lot with that. You're still relying on there is still the power of an LLM behind it.
Yes.
Whichever one you're using. But the future may be smaller ones like, and I talked to OpenAI's ChatGPT to try to understand this and find an example that I knew. And we ended up at, you use Grammarly. Grammarly is a small language model, very specific case or use cases for it. It doesn't have to be trained in the knowledge of the world.
Right.
It has to be trained on grammatical knowledge. And that is one specific use of it. So with that in mind, going back to your P&G teasing, is it doesn't have to be trained. The LLM or the small language model that they may be building doesn't have to be trained on the world's knowledge.
Right. It's just theirs.
It's just theirs. And I think that that's what's happening. So the same skills you and I are applying, but we're relying on the knowledge of the world.
Right. Well, that was my point bringing it up, was an example of, you can see that progression. Okay, if we're doing these individualized applications based off the LLMs, right? The large ones. Why can't you do the specialized? And obviously you can. And that's what that was about. Which is also, I think it's at least thematically connected to the next one.
Yeah.
So the Microsoft, Google, all these startups embedding agents in everything, but particularly spreadsheets and browsers, and AI native productivity tools. So, we used to build macros in Excel. Now we would be build. Some people did. Yeah, fair enough. Shout out to Nelson. But now agents in those tools, and that's also, and what that we've talked about this was the broader component of that. You think there's going to be somebody who's going to usurp the major tech players? You're wrong. I'm sorry, I just got to tell you, because they are staying at parity as well. So we think about this world. It's not that we have OpenAI now, right? And we got Perplexity, and there's some other, there's a broader ecosystem.
Good players in there,
But if you think that suddenly it's going to, that Google or Microsoft or Apple or Amazon are going to go away, you are, I'm sorry, I know what you're smoking, but that's not going to happen, because they are foundational to how business is run. And here's an example of that, where they're incorporating the good old spreadsheet. The good old spreadsheet is becoming agentic. So, and then you train that, so you don't have the macro particularly have an agent that's kind of trained on how you do things. So, and that's not future, that's now. It's only going to be us getting used to them.
It's interesting because there was, I think it was at some point in the last year or so, whatever, like where you could be in your email and then open up a sidebar and be able to like schedule a meeting right from your email, which is kind of like having that agency feature in there. Like, because those two productivity tools are linked. Your calendar and your email is linked.
Right.
But now, you can, it's not going to even be effort.
Right. It's the prompt.
It's just going to happen.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's just, you set it up and it's a prompt, and then it's running all the time. I have not gotten that far myself. I'm still point and click GUI interface, but I see it. I just haven't. And that's the barrier. That is the barrier. The adoption is, old fogies like me that just, I'm set in my ways, it does. You move the button. Where's my button? And that's not insignificant.
Old, and yet I'm like, oh look, buttons moved. Yeah, it's like
right.
all the different approaches to life.
I know. You're like, good, no button. Woo! I'm still.
But here's what's interesting about this, and I think it's worth differentiating. Like when Lenny and I segue into these types of stories, this is changing. These types of changes, the Microsofts, the Googles, the Amazons, whatever, embedding these things into their platforms that we use for work. This is changing how we work, how we as professionals work. And that's very different from how researchers conduct research. So some of the stuff that we talk about in the first half of the show, it's all talking about like, what does this mean for you as a researcher? This stuff starts to be, what does this mean for you as a professional doing business? Like,
not even professional. I mean, just because these things are baked into our lives. My kids use Excel.
Into our lives.
Right. I mean, these are foundational. To just navigating the world, today, and they continue to transform. So my recommendation on this for everybody listening is everything's changing really fast in so many ways, but some things don't, right? It's kind of like the law of physics, right? I mean, physics still apply. We may come up with some grand new propulsion system for interstellar travel, right? That may happen, but it's still going to be based on physics. So that's not going to change. So focus on the integrations and the evolution of the solutions that are foundational. That's the path to success, in my humble opinion.
And say yes when whatever tool you use, whichever system you're in, whether it's the Google system or whether it's Microsoft, when you get that pop-up that says you want to try this, try it, experiment, see what it can do for you, because this is going to improve your workday.
Absolutely. And I look forward to the day I get over looking for my button to realize that, why have I not? Why am I still messing with that button? That was stupid. I need to just use the agent. So
Agents. Yeah, let's get into this next one, because I thought this was really cool because so many Green Book customers were mentioned in this article.
Yes.
And I was like, it was like oh, okay, we know all of these players. Interesting. So Foundation Capital has a piece out highlighting how AI agents will redefine user research. And I mean, what in the beginning, they throw out Cint, throw out Qualtrics, like there's some, some of the heavy hitters that have been around a while, but they also called out startups that are also customers of ours. Listen Labs, competition winner. We knew, we've talked about their funding, Outset, Conveyo, and talking about how they're all running kind of the full interview loop, right? So recruiting, scheduling, conducting.
Yep.
So they're doing it all, right? These startup platforms go back up to MX8. Like, MX8, you're not the first one to be doing this, right?
Right.
So,
this was cool because it was a VC, early stage, which, by the way, in that, if you're an early stage company, they were saying, hey, entrepreneurs, founders, come, we want to talk to you. So
we want to just scroll to the bottom. That's in the bottom call to action. Yeah.
So that was cool. Just from that standpoint, they're obviously engaged in the ecosystem. And of course there's bias because they have a thesis, but you don't make money in the VC world unless you're really smart. You just don't. So or else you're just throwing money away. And so these guys, they have a very specific view of the future of the industry. I'm not going to disagree with them. It may be a little more bullish than I'd like to admit publicly, but they're still not wrong, and they're putting their money where their mouth is, and these businesses are achieving commercial success. And you gotta put your thumb, your finger in the air and see which way the wind is blowing. This is very indicative of where the wind is blowing. And it's the second one, because we also had the Andreessen Horowitz post a few weeks back. It was very similar. So follow the money, guys. It's important.
Follow the money. So and also just shout out to everybody who's cited in this, because it's pretty cool. And hopefully readers will be taking you all in. So like we did, and listeners of this show will take that article in. So appreciate that.
Yep. I thought this last one was really cool too. It was also one of those things we've been talking about, and now here's other people going, oh yeah.
You go ahead and share this one. I pulled it up. I'm like, I really want to dig into this one, so it's still in my read this next.
Okay.
But you have to share about it because I didn't get there, but I really want to.
The rest of the world, look at kind of the macro, which I'm actually not familiar with rest of world. It seems to be a tech centric publication, but anyway, the basically how the next generation of AI is behavioral data, and not just kind of Internet of Things. That's a piece of it, 100%. But also transactional, web traffic, et cetera, and that's look at the relationships that the big AI companies are doing, particularly in emerging markets, with partners, because they just want the data. So one example, and I forget the exact details, but was OpenAI, I believe, giving free access to a large social network in India. It's not because they're just this wonderfully virtuous people. They want the data. So they want their solutions integrated in so they could to form the models. And we've been talking about this for years as well. Now that the behavioral data, attitudinal data is useful. Behavioral data is far more useful because it has so many applications. And you take that even a step further, the Waymo and the robots and yada, they're capturing real world data. And so we're seeing this integration of just gobbling up real data from every possible source, because that's what feeds the AI, and therefore that's what feeds the business applications that are being developed off of it. So that was the gist of that.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So I mean, look, there's still a lot going on, and I just hope that Lenny and I are like delivering it to you in a way where you can digest it, take it all in, and rest assured that like this is what's happening. We're here to translate.
Yeah.
That yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, do we want to give them a little sneak peek on our 100th episode experiment? Because I thought that was really, really cool what we did.
Well, I think that the reality is Lenny and I have been at this for about 2 years. So that means if you add up how many weeks are there in a year, give or take a week or two where we've canceled, we're coming up on our 100th episode. So, that's going to be, what was this one? And I don't want to call Carly in because I'm like, oh my gosh, was this one 98? Was this one 97?
This 98.
This one's 98. So, we'll have next week, but then the week after it's our 100th episode. So we will be sharing some of what the themes have been over the last 100 episodes. First of all, it's like we're becoming outliers in the number of times like we have talked one-on-one. Like we're already at 100 episodes. I wonder what our outlier episode is for us. But we'll be sharing out some of the themes that the large language models have helped us uncover, that we've covered in the last 100 episodes. It's pretty cool, actually.
Really, really was. I mean, we'll talk about it more then, but we just know we've been experimenting. We put our money where our mouth is, guys, right? And we've been utilizing AI to help analyze what is inherently unstructured data, the transcripts and the sessions and the links, and looking at what are the themes, and pretty interesting for sure. And we're not exactly sure what we're going to do with that, but we'll talk about it more. But
well, and I do, shout out to my husband, Tim Lynch, who started to do some work on his own because everything's on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And he ended up creating, I haven't even shared it with Lenny yet. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. He ended up doing like an AI video recap of our episodes and of all 100 of them. And I'm like, I did not ask you to do this. You are busy. Don't put time to this. And he's like, hey, I'm just a fan doing what I do with publicly available information.
We love you, Tim. Well, but it was important when looking at that. I just got to say, guys, I don't want to give anything away, but it was compelling. That was our goal. Our goal has always been to share information that we think is interesting and relevant to the industry that can help you make better decisions going forward. And taking that retrospective, it proved to me well, damn right, we've been doing that, right? Yeah. We have been a real-time tracker of significant issues and news relevant to the industry that has become predictive over time. And that's not a shout out that like, oh, we're so smart. The point is, which we are, but that's speak for myself. Karen's like, I'm smart. I don't know about you, Letty. The vote's out on you, but the reason we do this is ingesting information to share, and now we have the ability to look at that in a very, I mean, it was easy to do it really. That shows, pay attention, because these things that we've been talking about have been relevant, impactful, and real, and continue to play out that way. Again, not because we're so special. That's why we do this. And it was gratifying to see that there was actually, okay, what we're doing has been impactful, I think.
Yeah. So that'll be a special episode. So we better not have any other news that week.
Oh, I'm sure that's when the aliens are going to land. I'm telling you. And,
no, the good news is the 100th episode is the Friday after Labor Day weekend. So we expect quiet news that week. So, because people are like, it's Labor Day weekend here in the US. We're not going to be doing too much. So we expect to be able to, share some of this good stuff and not miss out too much on the news, so we don't miss a beat and we stay contextually relevant.
Yes. And on that note.
Yeah. And on that note, we will see you all in a week. If you want to message us at the exchange at greenbook.org in advance of that, feel free. We're looking at it every day. So the exchange at greenbook.org. If we don't see you there, we will see you next Friday. Here's what I like to do always. I like to click on this and show it. Because when Carly puts it there, I'm always like, look, email us, keep the conversation going. We'll see you next Friday. Have a great weekend.
Yep, that's it. Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.